What's going on, everybody? Hockey Time here, back for another week of NHL Power Rankings, the second to last week of Power Rankings for the entire season. The last one will be after Thursday's games next week at the culmination of the regular season. And I have about an hour before I have to head to the Flyers game to record and edit this, so we're jumping right in. And I apologize in advance for how quickly this one goes through. Number 32, it's a change of pace. Not the Sharks, it is the Ducks. 1-1-1 on the week, 2-6-2 in their last 10. Those three teams could really kind of go interchangeably at number 32 and number 31, excuse me, up one spot, San Jose. They get the 2 wins this week. They can thank Devin Cooley for being this high up the list. He had a 49 save performance against Seattle, clinching them that victory. So otherwise, they probably, would have still ended up at 32. But thanks to him, they are at 31. Number 30, dropping one spot back where they probably should be, is Chicago. 1-3 on the week. It was a tough week from them. Bedard, kind of a quiet week, and when that happens, the Blackhawks are always going to have a tough time winning, getting shelled in pretty much every game they played. So you could have made an argument about the Sharks being higher than them, but I felt still playing well enough to keep them above San Jose. They are 4-6 in their last 10, so decent still in that span, but this week was just not great for them. Number 29, flip-flopping with Chicago. Up one spot is Montreal. Montreal 1-2-1 on the week, 5-4-1 in their last 10. Slavkovsky has looked great this week. That's kind of been the extent of it. They had that one fantastic game against the Flyers where Philly just didn't seem like they wanted to play hockey despite being in the playoff race, so love that. But aside from that win, not really the best week for Montreal, but they do, I think, still do well enough to move up the one spot to 29. Now 28, another team dropping one spot. A lot of flip-flopping going on in this bottom section. It is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They go 1-3 on the week as well, 3-7 in their last 10. I don't really think there's too much to discuss about this team. Their big players have been pretty quiet. They're going through some injury trouble, so kind of the end of the year that Columbus knew they were going to have to experience. Slow, painful death, whatever. Dropping one spot to number 28. 27, the flip side of that, moving up one spot. Calgary goes 2-2 on the week. They're also 3-7 in their last 10. It's by no means been good for them, but I felt it was a bit better than it was for the Blue Jackets, so they do get the bump up the one spot. A nice game last night against Anaheim, a 6-3 win that kind of spoils Jakob Silfverberg's final home game as an Anaheim Duck, so love-hate relationship there, I'm sure, if you're a Ducks fan and a Calgary Flames fan. But nonetheless, an all right week from them. They move up to one spot to 27. Now, 26, I had a tough time with this team, but I did drop them down one spot to 1-1 on the week, the New Jersey Devils. It's so weird to see this team this low on the rankings when their expectations all year were pretty high. But at the end of the day, their end to the season has just not been good enough, flat out. The goaltending has not been good enough. They get the one win versus Toronto, but they also lost to Toronto, and frankly just kind of let themselves die out of this playoff race. So disappointing to see if you're a Devils fan. Not a bad week from them, but not a good enough week to get them moved up. So they fall to number 26. Number 25, also falling one spot, is Ottawa. Ottawa goes 500 on the week, 2-2, 6-4-0 in their last 10. So they've been playing decently, but the team jumping over them, I just thought had a really solid week. They've been playing pretty well as of late. So this is not so much a reflection of Ottawa as it is a reflection of the team that hopped over them. Number 24, the other team dropping one more spot before we get to the team that's leapfrogging all of these teams, is the Seattle Kraken. Seattle just 1-1 on the week. Again, that tough loss coming to San Jose, basically at the hand of Devin Cooley. So unfortunate for them. They're kind of in the same boat here as Calgary and New Jersey, just like slowly waiting for the season to end. It's been a disappointing year for them after making the playoffs and making it to the second round last year. So we'll see if they're able to bounce back and kind of finish the year on a high note, but definitely focused on the offseason and heading into next year if you are a Seattle Kraken fan. Now, number 23, team moving up 3 spots here, 3-1-0 on the week and 6-4 in their last 10. The soon-to-be Salt Lake City, whatever, are they going to be the Coyotes? Or are they going to be something else? Nobody knows. But yeah, the Coyotes had a pretty good week. Statement win at the end of the week last night against Edmonton. I thought they played pretty well. They kind of withstood the storm. The goaltending was pretty good for them last night and the entire week, so good to see from them. Josh Dunn with another good night. Logan Cooley, a good night. So good stuff from the young guys in Arizona. We'll see what comes of this team over the coming months, I guess. I don't know exactly what to expect. This feels like a very rushed decision by Gary Bettman in the NHL. I did not really get to talk about this on the channel, but we'll see what happens in the summer for this week. They had a pretty good one. They move up 3 spots to number 23. 22, dropping one spot. The representative, Philadelphia Flyers 1-2 on the week, 2-6-2 in their last 10, and somehow, some way, still not dead in this Eastern Conference playoff race. A massive game today, of course, against New Jersey, and then against Washington on Tuesday to wrap up their season. They're probably going to need a little help. They have the most games played of all the teams in this Eastern Conference battle, so going to need help from the likes of Pittsburgh, from Washington to lose some of the games that those guys have in hand if they want a chance. But they're still in it despite having a terrible record over the last 15 games. So we'll see what Philly can do this week. They'll drop one spot to number 22. 21 also, or excuse me, flip flopping with Philly, moving up one spot is Buffalo. Buffalo also 1-2 on the week, but 5-5 in their last 10. I just like what I've seen from them a little bit more. A big spoiler win against Washington late in the week here. And today I think they're up against Florida. So that's going to be a pretty tough game. Florida has been playing pretty well, but we're at that point of the year where maybe Florida rests some guys. Maybe Buffalo has a chance to win this game. We'll see what lineup Buffalo's putting out there. If they're throwing any rookies in, if Devin Levi is going to get a look, we'll see. But the season is, at least playoff-wise, over for the Sabres. They're kind of playing towards next year. So we'll see what happens for them. Not any crazy high expectations over these last few games, and they move up to one spot this week to number 21. Number 20, same spot as last week, 1-1-1 on the week. And 3-4-3 in their last 10 are the Detroit Red Wings. Same deal as Philly, though. Despite this weird ho-hum record, they are right there in the mix in the East, mostly because every team that's right there in the mix in the East has also had ho-hum records. So we'll see if Detroit can pick it up. They play Toronto today, which is a massive game. So we'll see if they're able to slow down the red-hot Austin Matthews and the rest of that Maple Leafs team, or if this is where their season's going to not come to an end, but they very much need these 2 points with every other team in the race playing tonight. So we'll see what happens for the Wings. They stand pat this week at number 20. Same story for number 19. The Capitals 1-1-1. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10 rather than 3-4-3 for Detroit. So they're in the same boat. I think they're in the bottom points wise for all the teams in the mix here. I believe they have 84. The rest have 85 or 86. But they have the extra game in hand over the likes of Philadelphia. So we'll see if that helps them out. They are probably going to need some help from the teams around them as well if they want to sneak in, but they do a little bit of controlling their own destiny, at least when it comes to Philadelphia. But they have 2 tough games here today against Tampa Bay and on Monday against Boston. So we'll see what the Caps are capable of coming up with. They're going to need big performances from Ovechkin, Strome, Lindgren, as there have been some of over the stretch, but probably not as many as you'd like to see. So a big 3 games here coming up for Washington. We'll see if they're able to stay alive, but for now, staying put at number 19. Number 18, dropping one spot and really ending the week with a thud. Minnesota, man, I don't know what happened in that game against Vegas last night, but it was ugly. They lost 7-2 for those who didn't watch it. 3 goals against on the first 4 shots for Fleury. He stays in the game because they have a back-to-back and Wallsted's playing tonight. They end up losing 7-2. Just not good. I mean, they weren't making the playoffs, but that's an ugly game. I know Vegas was a hungry-driven team in that game. They could have clinched a playoff spot, and they did, but just not a great way to end the week, and really not a great week overall for the Minnesota Wild. So they dropped the 1 spot to number 18. Number 17, another team dropping 1 spot. Despite a decent week, they are officially eliminated from playoff contention, though, now. The St. Louis Blues, 2-1-1 on the week, 5-3-2 in their last 10. They needed a win against Carolina to stay alive, and they really needed Vegas to lose last night. Neither of those 2 things happened, so they are officially checked out of this playoff race. But all in all, it was a decent week from them. The team hopping over them just had a better week, in my opinion. So not really a reflection of a bad week for St. Louis, just kind of getting hopped by the team in front of them, which at number 16 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. As of right now, they sit in that final wild card spot in the East. It's so weird as a Capitals fan saying this, but they kind of feel like the Cinderella team that Florida was last year, which I hate because that means they're probably going to end up winning whoever or beating whoever they play in the first round, and Crosby's going to find a way to make them go on another run. So it makes me want to throw up in my mouth saying that as a true Caps fan, but I say that wearing Philadelphia Flyers stuff just makes no sense, right? Whatever. Anyway, Penguins have been playing pretty well, 2-0-1 on a pretty hot streak when it comes to points, and they have a massive game today against a very good Boston team. So that's going to be a fun game to watch for sure. If they can continue to play the way they've been playing, they will probably find a way to sneak in 7-0-3 in their last 10. It's been an unbelievable run for the Penguins, and kind of fun to see the legend of Crosby grow if they make it in here. It's impossible to deny he's one of the best of all time, but as a Caps fan, just stings and feels all kinds of wrong saying that. But anyway, Penguins up a couple spots to number 16. Number 15, dropping 1 spot despite a 2-1 week. Los Angeles. Again, not a negative reflection of how this team's been playing. Just a couple teams hopping over them. Another one of these teams in the East that's been pretty hot, and one team out West I thought that deserved to stay above them. So not a bad week for LA. They just kind of get hopped by the teams that are going at a little bit of a better pace, in my opinion. Number 14, not one of those teams. This team goes 1-1-1 and drops 4 spots. It's actually our biggest drop of the week. Vancouver. Weird to drop a team 4 spots for a 1-1-1 week, but heading into the playoffs, this team just hasn't looked like the team that they've been for most of the regular season. I know they're without Demko, and that they don't have a ton to play for. They're very likely going to end up in that first spot in the Pacific just because of how strong they were for the majority of the regular season. But I just don't love what I've been seeing from this Vancouver team, and frankly, I'm nervous for whoever they end up against in round one, whether it's Nashville, Vegas, or Los Angeles. I don't really love any of those matchups for them, especially if Thatcher Demko is not ready to go for game one. So we'll see what happens for Vancouver. It's not been a great stretch for them. Despite going 1-1-1 the week, they do drop 4 spots to number 14. Number 13, same spot as last week, despite a 3-0 week, which feels very weird, but they're only 5-4-1 in their last 10, kind of recovering from the slump they've been on, are the Winnipeg Jets. Huge game today against the Avs. If they win that game, that's a total game changer for these rankings and their standings, of course. So a huge game there, but I just need to see a touch more from them. I know they won all 3 games. All the Winnipeg Jets fans are going to be in the comments going rogue, but I just felt like the teams in front of them playing a little bit better right now, and we'll slide right into number 12 so that you guys can have some perspective for that, because the team at 12 also goes 3-0 on the weekend. They are 8-2 in their last 10. That's the New York Islanders. The Islanders, I think, now 7 or 8 wins consecutively. They have been doing everything they can to make sure that they lock in a playoff spot. I actually think they might be able to lock it up tonight if they win, or I guess this afternoon. Game's already started against the New York Rangers. So that's a huge game. Of course, the rivalry alone is a big game, but for the Islanders, a massive, massive game with what's at stake. So that's why the Jets are at 13, Islanders at 12. Think they've just been playing a bit better. We'll see what happens today, and that could change pretty quickly. Number 11, 11 moves up 1 spot, and it's the Florida Panthers, 2-0-1 on the week, 5-4-1 in their last 10. Kind of the same story as the Winnipeg Jets. I just like the play that I've seen from Florida a bit better than the play I've seen from the Jets. Again, that could all change pretty quickly. They have the easiest of the 3 opponents mentioned here in Buffalo today, so probably the most likely team to stay put or move up, at least as of today. But the Panthers looking to be a little bit stronger heading into the playoffs. They had a stretch last week where it wasn't looking great for them, kind of same vibes as we're getting out of Vancouver, but they've turned that around and have looked pretty good this week, so they move up the 1 spot to number 11. Number 10, also moving up 1 spot, 2-1 on the week, is Vegas. Now, people are going to look at this and say, Cody, Vegas is at 10, LA's at 15, but LA's above Vegas in the standings. I hear you, but the play from Vegas and the play from Los Angeles are really what I'm looking at here. If this was standings, it'd be the standings. It wouldn't really be all that exciting. But that being said, I just like what I've seen from Vegas a bit more. I think they're doing a lot to, make sure that they are just shelling every team they played. It feels like they have not gotten outshot in like 2 weeks. The goaltending has been pretty good, save that one Aiden Hill game that they had this week that wasn't all that great. I honestly expect Logan Thompson to be the starting goalie heading into the playoffs. We'll see whether I'm right or wrong about that, but he's been phenomenal over the last month, really. He's been very, very strong for them. Whereas LA, the goaltending's been good, not great in my opinion, and they're still kind of riding on the coattails of Cam Talbot. So I have Vegas up here at number 10. We'll see whether it comes back to bite me in the butt at the end of the week here, or at the end of the season here, but for now, they lock in their playoff spot, and they're looking to kind of continue the upward momentum headed into the first round. Number 9, this team drops 1 spot, 1-1-0 on the week. They only play the 2 games, so it's kind of tough to rank them, but you have Boston here as the last team outside the top row. They're 6-4-0 in their last 10. It's been decent from them. They're very likely going to end up with that first spot in the Atlantic Division, barring a pretty big collapse over these last few games in Florida going perfect. So good to see the way the Bruins have been playing. They look like they're going to be in pretty good shape heading into the playoffs. We'll probably find out over the coming days who they're going to be playing, depending on how all these matchups go in the East. We'll probably know by Tuesday, I think, is really the last big day for the Eastern Conference. So kind of waiting and seeing here if you're a Bruins fan, but the biggest question for them is going to be who starts game one. It probably should be Linus Ullmark the way things have gone lately, but we'll see what coach Jim Montgomery decides to go with regard to the goaltenders. Number 8, another team just flip-flopping with one another. The Toronto Maple Leafs are number 8, 2-1 on the week, 6-4-0 as well in their last 10, just marginally better. That extra game played this week definitely helps them. Otherwise, the Bruins probably stay at 8, the Leafs probably stay at 9, but they get the extra win for the extra game they had. And that's really the difference this week. I think these teams are pretty neck and neck. It's going to be very interesting to see if there's a way that these two teams meet up in the second round. If the Leafs are going well, they're going to probably have Florida in round 1, and there's a decent chance they get Boston in round 2. So hilarious. If you're not a Leafs fan, you're probably kicking everything if you are a Leafs fan that these are the two teams you're going to have to play in the first 2 rounds if you make it through 2 rounds. So we'll see what happens for the playoffs for the Leafs. That's really been the target for them all year. They knew they were going to make it. It's just been a matter of keeping everyone healthy, trying to make sure Samsonov's ready to go. The goal for them in the last couple of games is probably just getting Matthews to 70. They'll take the 2 points, of course, but that is kind of focus number 1 for Leafs fans and probably a lot of the players too, to be completely honest. So Leafs at 8 this week. And number 7, same spot as last week. I thought about dropping this team, but 2-1-1 for the Nashville Predators. They've slowed down a bit, but last night, a thumping of the Chicago Blackhawks, as they should. I mean, the Preds are a locked-in playoff team and have been playing very well over the last 2 months. The Chicago Blackhawks, not that. So good to see them take care of business there. Good to see Forsberg make history for the Preds there with the most goals in a single season. So good stuff in general from the Preds, getting UC Saros some rest headed into the playoffs, which will be very important if they're to win one round, never mind multiple. So good week from the Preds. They stay put, though, at number 7. Number 6, same boat, 1-1 on the week for the Colorado Avalanche. I thought about dropping this team as well, but I didn't really think there were any teams worth pulling up. Like the Leafs haven't quite been good enough. The Bruins not quite good enough. The Panthers, Golden Knights, none of these teams good enough as of late, at least, to pull them above the Avs. So I kept the Avs at 6. We'll see whether or not that ends up being the right decision. Again, that game today against Winnipeg is a massive one, but for now they stay put, same spot as last week. Number 5, dropping 1 spot, 1-1-1 on the week. The Tampa Bay Lightning, not really a reflection of their game, more so the team in front of them, leapfrogging them. They had a very solid week, and that team at number 4 is the Edmonton Oilers, 2-0-1, 6-2-2 in their last 10 for both of these two teams. You do not want to be the team that gets stuck playing either of these two teams. Tampa is going to be the scariest of the 4 wildcard teams, I think. I'd probably rather face any of Nashville, Vegas, LA, or any of the teams that could potentially make it in the East over the likes of Tampa Bay Lightning, Andrei Vasilevsky, Nikita Kucherov. Keep me away from all of that if I'm one of the top East teams. So they're definitely scary. Edmonton, of course, very scary with the likes of McDavid, Draisaitl. The list goes on. But for this week, at least, Edmonton marginally better than the Bolts. And for that reason, they once again flip-flop from number 5 to number 4, and the Bolts go from 4 to 5. Number 3, no movement for the team at 3. It's Dallas. They go 2-2. They're 8-2 in their last 10. And they're much like some of these other teams, just gearing up for the playoffs, trying to make sure everyone stays healthy, trying to play well, but not overly concerned. They're probably going to end up first in this division. And then, of course, Colorado and Winnipeg at 2 and 3. So good stuff for Dallas. Not really concerned about where they finish this. They are probably my cup favorite. Number 2, dropping 1 spot. They didn't have a great week. 1-2, the New York Rangers. Still 7-3 in their last 10. I'm not worried about this team at all, but just marginally worse than the team at number 1. And once again, it's another Metro team, the Carolina Hurricanes. They go 3-0 on the week. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. And they're looking to catch the Rangers for that first spot. We'll see whether or not it happens. A couple games left for both of these teams, but the Canes have been red hot. They look very good from top to bottom. The goaltending from Freddie Anderson has been fantastic, so that's terrifying as well if you're a potential team matching up against them in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens for the Canes. They finish this week at number 1. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe as well. It is free, and we got one more of these before the playoff starts. Crazy that we've gotten here this quickly, but we're here. So thanks as always for watching, and we will talk to you guys soon.